to try. And somehow we had to let go. Yeah. And now I need to get you back. 'Cause I know there's a light space, a gleaming trace, and I won't let me go on like this. I won't give up, I won't back down, and I won't stop until I find. Until I find you. I know I gotta find a way, just like I knew you were gonna come away in every breath. There's an answer you get just by looking for it. I know we're nearly there. Stay with the ghost of that dream. I will, 'cause I choose to believe that I can't see a light space, a burning face. You'd never let me go on like this, so don't give up, don't back down. I won't stop until I find, until I find you. I know I gotta find a way, just like I knew you were gonna come away in every breath. There's an answer you get just by looking for it. And I know we're nearly Can't you make me feel like I'm the one? Can we let?
Hello?
Hi there, Miss Barbara.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, we are live, so we do have people that can see us and hear us. So everybody, this is Miss Barbara Hall. For those that are a little bit familiar with the case, this is Timmy D's mom. And I was supposed to have some other moms. I think one's going to come in later, and then we're going to have some other ones another time that had to work. Hi, Mr. Tony. Hi, Outlaw. Hi, Dino. Hi, Amy. Welcome, everybody. Let me get my phone set up so I can see what I'm doing here. It's been a while since I've been on here, Miss Barb.
Well, I didn't know my face was going to show.
Oh,
Not
today. It's fine. I don't think anybody saw it. Oh my goodness. Okay. One more thing and then we'll get started.
It's live.
Is Jimmy gonna be with us?
He's eating.
Okay. He can pop in and out whenever he wants to. Thank you, Savannah, honey. So, for you, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background. For those that for those that aren't familiar, there's some families in Fredericktown, Missouri, who have lost loved ones, and we're gonna be sharing their stories throughout the next few weeks. Our first one is the mother of Timmy Dees, like I said. And she's a very special woman who I've grown to love in just a short time. And we're going to let her tell us about Timmy. You probably saw in my intro the picture that was Timmy, and I'm going to show you some more pictures. So, Miss Barb, if you want to just tell us about Timmy. How
Timmy
was he as a
Timmy
little boy?
He was a
He was
happy
a
baby.
happy baby.
I mean, Timmy
Timmy always
smiled and
smiled and
giggled, and
giggled, and
he liked to joke
he liked to joke around and
play around
with,
just try to make
just try to make
happy.
people happy.
And it seems like that carried over.
Yeah, sometimes I think that maybe I shouldn't have taught my kids so much to trust and try to see the best in everybody, and that's what I did. And now I'm not so sure
that
was
that way
to teach
Okay.
them.
teach them.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? My internet was giving me an issue for a second.
I
I always
taught my kids
taught my
to
kids
see
to see
the
the
best
best in everybody.
But now I'm
But
not
now
so
I'm not
sure
so
that
sure
was the
that
right
was the
thing
right
to
thing
do,
to do.
Right.
because not
Because not everybody's good.
That's true. So, Timmy was born where? Where were y'all living when Timmy was born?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Okay, so they're
He
from
is born
He
Missouri.
is born at St. Luke's
Hospital.
Hospital.
And he looks like he was a beautiful, happy guy. This is another picture of Timmy. Let me see.
Everybody
told
Timmy
he looked like Tom Petty.
And he loved
And
that.
he loved that.
Yep, I remember you telling me that. Good looking kid.
And that smile,
And that smile, that's who he was.
You can see it. Even his eyes smile. His whole face just lights up in a big smile.
Yeah, he liked to
laugh and fly around.
And
But
Mama.
when he disappeared, he was down. His brother had died, and he was depressed. He kept telling me that he felt like he should have stepped in and helped his brother. So I think he had a little guilt there.
Right. This is Miss Barber, everybody. This was before Timmy was found, right?
Yes.
And so
That was me at the
courthouse.
So let's go back to 8 months before Timmy went missing. Tell me about that.
His brother died. His brother had a lot of mental problems. And then he got on drugs. And he died from a fentanyl overdose. And Timmy and I both had a hard time. Because it was just tough. And Timmy and I had talked about it before he disappeared. because he had stayed with me
like
4 days,
4 days,
and
we talked about it.
And he said,
And
"Mom,"
he said,
I
just didn't
spend enough
spend
time
enough time with Michael.
I should have stepped in and helped him. And I reassured him that there was nothing that he could have done. She's gone. Showing pictures of Timmy, it makes me cry.
I'm sorry, I had my mic muted and didn't realize it. So I'm gonna fix something right fast. Someone just texted me and told me that we were echoing, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, very bad. She got 2 different voice recorders going at the same time. Yes, no. Huh?
No. You can go in there and eat.
Okay. Is that better? Everybody put a 1 in the chat if you can hear us okay. And if there's no echoing now since I put my earphones on.
Say something.
Okay, so yeah, Timmy was I think he felt guilt because it was so hard to be around his brother because his brother was in bad shape. And he was depressed.
Right. And he loved his brother very much. Timmy loved his mom very much.
We were very close. The 3 of us, both of my kids and I, were very close. But then when Michael started having the mental problems and got on the drugs, it was very hard to be around him. Even though I was around him pretty much every day, it was still hard to deal with, to be honest.
Right. And I know how that feels because I've shared my story with you. Most everybody listening probably has heard my story about my youngest son. So it's hard. It is very hard to deal with them when they're going through stuff. And we do all we can as moms.
Unfortunately, we can't do it for them.
That's right. We have to. They've got to want to help themselves, and they've got to be able to do things to progress forward in order for us to help them.
Yeah, and I even tried to get Michael help. I went to a counselor and a judge and got him taken to the hospital on a 96-hour hold. And they pretty much put him in the hospital for the 96 hours and released him with a bunch of medications that he couldn't afford. And they gave him enough to take for a while, and then he got back off. Well, then he didn't have them, so he got on drugs, and he got a hold of the wrong drugs, and he died.
Right. And as many people know nowadays, there's a lot of drugs that people can use every single day and it not bother them, but they get that one that's laced with too much fentanyl, and that's what does it.
And they found Michael in his car, gone, and that's kind of a suspicious story in itself.
Right. So yeah, you've never really shared Michael's story with me that much. We've mostly talked about Timmy. So
Michael was left in his car with the windows up. He died on June 19th. His keys and his phone were gone. So I guess when he had died, they just left him there.
And nobody ever came forward to tell you they had been with him or anything like that?
No.
So how were Michael and Timmy as brothers growing up together? Were they really close?
Oh yeah. They did pretty much everything together. We even had one of them boxing things out on our carport, and they'd be out there boxing that together. They played video games, I mean, it was just always Michael, Timmy, and I, the three of us.
Right.
And Timmy wasn't anybody that liked to spend the night at anybody's house, so Timmy was home all the time.
Right.
I let him spend the night at a friend's one time, and that was because I had pneumonia and he wanted a friend to spend the night. And I told him, I said, Timmy, I'm just really don't feel good. He goes, well, then I'll spend the night at my friend's house, which wasn't normal because Timmy wanted to be at home in his own bed. That's just the way he was growing up. Well, he went to spend the night with his friend. 2 hours later, I got a phone call, and they were wrestling around. He fell over a dumbbell, broke his femur and his other bone in his leg.
Oh no.
So he was in a cast for 8 weeks. He never spent the night at anybody's house again.
Oh my goodness. So
one thing I will say about that is I went and picked him up at his friend's. I told him, let me take you to the hospital. Timmy's like, no, Mom, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I went home. I laid him on the couch, propped his leg up, covered it nice. I actually stayed up all night long, packing his leg in ice, gave him an ibuprofen. He went to sleep. So I thought, well, there's no way it's broke because, if it was broke, he wouldn't be able to sleep. Well, the next morning we got up. Well, I never slept. So he got up and he was still complaining. I said, Timmy, let me take you to the hospital. We went to the hospital. When they got him out of the car, he was screaming in pain. But once they put him in the wheelchair, he didn't complain anymore. So the doctors didn't take it real serious until they took the x-ray. And then the doctor and the nurse came out and said they have never seen anybody be able to handle so much pain and not complain. So, I mean,
oh my goodness.
I know. I mean, he broke his femur and the other bone that's next to the femur when he was little.
So, that was okay. Let's go back to Michael. What month was that in 2021?
He died June 19th.
Okay. And so then from June 19th up until February of 2022, Timmy was having a hard time dealing with everything, but y'all were working through it together and comforting one another.
Yeah. Timmy actually did go in the hospital for 4 days for depression.
Mm-hmm.
He went because he was struggling, and they kept him for 4 days.
And so you tried to call. You want to just tell everybody the story about when you knew something wasn't quite right.
Well, I talked to Timmy on the 26th, which was a Sunday. And he was fine. We giggled, joking around. And he said he was up in St. Louis at a friend's. Well, then I didn't talk to him the next day, which was a Monday. Tuesday came around. I hadn't talked to him, but I went to church and I came home and I just felt physically sick. I mean, just
because he actually talked to you every day, pretty much.
Yeah, we talked after his brother died. We talked every day.
Right. So you knew by him not calling you or answering your calls that something wasn't right.
Yeah, that
And you kept,
Monday I thought something was wrong, and I thought, no, maybe, I'm just going to give it a day. But then by Tuesday, after I got home from church, I don't know what it was. My spirit was telling me something was wrong. Honestly, I was freaking out. I was pacing the floors. I called my neighbor. I said, something's wrong. I have this eerie feeling. I mean, I actually felt like I was going to throw up. I felt that sick. So my
right,
neighbor and I got to talking, and she said, well, maybe you ought to call the police. I said, yeah. And then I called the police and made I made a missing persons report. And then I never saw or heard from Timmy again from that Sunday.
right. And he had been picked up when he left to go to Fredericktown. He had actually been picked up by a friend who he had known since he was really little. They were
Well, he had
almost like
gotten picked up
brothers.
from my house that Friday from a friend that he works with. Well, his friend that he works with lives down closer to the city in St. Louis. And I talked to him, and he said, well, his friend Caleb from Fredericktown came up and picked him up. And so
And that didn't bother you because Caleb, you were like a second mom to Caleb.
Oh
Caleb was like
yeah,
a brother to
Caleb lived at
Timmy.
my house. I got pictures of Caleb when he was a little boy with Timmy at Timmy's birthday party. I took Caleb bowling for the first time. I mean, Caleb lived at my house before.
Right.
So, I mean,
And
it kind of made sense to me that Timmy had actually would talk to Caleb because he was more, and Caleb knew Timmy's brother, Michael. So for Timmy to talk to Caleb about him missing his brother wasn't anything unusual. He was confiding in a childhood friend.
right. So then you gathered the troops and y'all started putting up missing flyers. You talked to his dad.
I talked to his dad and I talked to his friend, and they said that Caleb had picked Timmy up from Fredericktown. I
Mhm.
mean, from St. Louis, and brought him to Fredericktown. So then when I called Fredericktown, I found out that Caleb was in jail. So
And
I
that's the
called,
first
go ahead.
that's the first red flag.
Yeah. So I called the jail. I actually put money on Caleb's books. I called the jail. I talked to one of the guys at one of the deputies. I gave him my phone number and I asked him to please have Caleb call me. I put money on his books for him to call me. So
Okay.
Caleb called me and he said, I don't know where he's at. He went outside to take a pee and he never came back. I'm like, okay, that didn't make any sense. And then I said,
That was the first story he gave you.
that was the first story he gave me. And then the second story he gave me was that Timmy got sketched out on some drugs and took off running and said somebody was chasing him.
Okay. That's the second red flag because Timmy didn't do drugs.
Well, I'm not going to say Timmy did or he didn't because I can't prove that. I wouldn't say if he was with Caleb, maybe he tried drugs with Caleb. I mean, it wasn't like, I know Timmy had an addiction to pain pills, okay, because he had a bad car accident. He got addicted to pain pills. But I had just taken Timmy the week before because Timmy knew he had a problem and he would get that shot
Mm-hmm.
once a month because Timmy was afraid. And he knew he had a problem. So he talked to his dad and I, and his dad talked to the doctor. And so Timmy was going once a month and getting a shot for, I don't even know what the shot's called, but it was for if you couldn't get high, or if you did, you wouldn't have any reactions to it or anything.
Right. But Timmy was by no means strung out on drugs like
Oh no,
meth or anything like that. Like he was taking care of the problem that he knew he had. He had
Right.
spent time with you for several days, so you would have known if he was doing anything like meth or anything.
Well, Timmy didn't
In
like meth
extreme terms.
anyway. Timmy didn't like
Right.
meth anyway. Timmy was,
Bec-
he liked to
And
sleep.
that's what, right. And that's what took his brother. So he definitely didn't like it. And so then
Then
that was the
Caleb told me,
second.
and the third story Caleb told me was that Timmy found an ID next to a dumpster and he took on somebody else's identity and went on the run because he was going to prison. And I go, Caleb, Timmy wasn't going to prison. I don't know where you're getting this story at. And he goes, well, he was on probation. I go, yeah, he was on probation, but he was in good standing with his probation officer. He would have never went to prison anyway. So it didn't
Right.
make sense.
So that was the third story, right?
Right.
Okay. So then moving forward to Timmy was not actually found until August, is that right?
July 21st.
July. Okay, July 21st. I don't have my notes with me, so
That's all right. It's in my head. I don't forget them.
I know, honey. I know. So between that time and July, there was people looking for him. They were posting flyers. Barb was sitting up in front of the courthouse.
Yeah, I put out myself personally about 4,000 flyers. That's not including what his dad and his friends did.
And so Caleb said that he just left. When was it you found out about the 911 call?
I didn't find out the 911 call until June 17th.
Okay. So
and that's because I was sitting at the courthouse every day, and finally I thought, well, I'm going to go down to the police station and ask them for the 911 call. It wasn't recorded because apparently the recordings were down, but they wrote it down.
Right.
So on that paper, it said that Timmy, well, they're telling me I can't prove that Timmy did this, but it came from Timmy's phone number saying that his friend was threatening him. And Caleb was his only friend.
Right, because he didn't know anybody else in Fredericktown except for Caleb.
Correct.
And then let's go back for a second. You also found out during this time that Caleb was not by himself when he came to pick Timmy up.
Correct.
There was 2 other people that you know of?
Yes.
So there was 2. We don't have to say their names, but there was 2 other people with Caleb. And so what happened the night they got the 911 call, the law went out there, and they talked to the first guy at the house.
They only talked to one guy at the house and they arrested him. And he was out in the middle of the street, apparently, when the police got there.
Mm-hmm. And then they went back later that morning, and that's when they arrest Caleb.
Yeah, the first guy apparently got arrested because he had warrants for his arrest for some, I don't even know what the warrants were. I mean, I do, but I really don't want to say that. But then they went back. I'm going to say it was at 1:40 in the morning that Timmy made the 911 call. At 9, I think it was 9 o'clock in the morning is when they went back and arrested Caleb.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing is the store. Tell us about the store.
Okay, at the store, Timmy was seen at the store. No, wait a minute. At 1:30 in the morning, Timmy was at the store with Caleb. And he was fine. He was well. And there was this girl there that apparently talked to Timmy inside the store. Then she was outside the store talking to Caleb alone. And then they left and went to where Timmy apparently called the 911 call at 4:40 in the morning.
At 4, that's right. Okay.
So at
So he was
1:30 they
seeing-
were at the gas station. At 4:40 he was calling 911.
Right. So they arrested the 2 guys from the house, but Timmy wasn't around when they were arrested. So moving forward, going back to where we were at with putting up the posters and everything, it wasn't until when that Timmy was actually found.
July
And
20.
tell us about them when they actually found him.
That was at 8:30 in the morning on July 21st. And it was exactly, because I just went there Friday, and it was exactly 184 yards from where the 911 call was made.
Right. And Miss Barbara, if at any point you want to take a break, grab you something to drink or anything like that, please let me know.
Well, I was told that I just don't get that when they were there and they arrested the Trevor kid, that they didn't look for anyone else. There was nobody else was in sight for the police to even talk to. They didn't knock on the door. Nothing.
Right.
So
And we don't know at this point, we don't know why that is.
Right.
And there's a lot to this. There's still an investigation going on. So you got the phone call that they found Timmy.
Yes. Actually, I got a picture sent to me by Timmy's dad asking me if it was Timmy's shoe. And I said, yes, it's Timmy's shoe, because I helped Timmy clean the shoes with the old toothbrush because he was really weird about his shoes.
Mhm.
And, the pictures that you're showing are pictures that I had just taken that week. So if you look at them pictures, you can tell that Timmy is not strung out on anything. He was fine. You know what I mean? I just took those pictures because I started taking a lot of pictures of Timmy after Michael had passed, because I realized I didn't have a whole lot of pictures of Michael. So I start taking pictures all the time.
Right. And so Levi just wanted to let us know that he's here listening also. He's cooking a tater tot casserole.
Ooh, that
So
sounds
he's
good.
listening. It does, doesn't it? So within 8 months, Miss Barbara has lost both her sons. We just got the first autopsy back, and it was inconclusive. A fundraiser GoFundMe was done because in order for Miss Barbara to get a second autopsy, she has to pay for it herself. Thank God that money was raised.
Yep, that's a
So
blessing.
she does have, yes, she does have the money to get the second autopsy done. The investigation is still underway, so we're not going to talk about the police part of it or anything like that.
Well, the one thing that bothers me is that Caleb showed up at the courthouse when I was sitting there one day. And of course, if you would have called me before all this happened and talked to me about Caleb, I would have said great things about Caleb because I thought I knew Caleb. But I have found out since all of this that Caleb apparently has been shooting meth for 2.5 years. So some of Timmy's friends that were friends with Caleb too when they were little has come up to me when I was putting flyers out in Marble Hill where Timmy was raised and said that Caleb's Barb, you don't understand. Caleb's not the same person that he used to be, which kind of shocked me. They were, when they walked up to me, they were crying because they loved Timmy too. And
Right. And when you found out about Caleb, that broke your heart too because you love that kid.
it saddened me because I've seen pictures of Caleb on Facebook with his son and his girlfriend, and I'd always comment how proud I was of him because I know that Caleb had a terrible childhood.
Right.
So I thought he was doing great if you would, by just seeing pictures. But Caleb had always been overweight even as a kid, and then all of a sudden Caleb's real thin.
And
what bothered me when he came to the courthouse was that he was very thin. I ran up to him. I fell into his arms crying. And I said, Caleb, please, if you know anything, please tell me what happened to Timmy. And there was just absolutely no emotion whatsoever. I mean, none. It gave me the creeps, to be honest with you. And then he sat down at the courthouse on I don't even know what the curb. The curb. The curb. And he says, I just want you to know that Trevor Howland's a family man. And I said, oh, really? I said, Trevor Howland, the family man that shoots meth and heroin, is a family man? I said, that doesn't sound like a very good family man to me. And then he went straight on to Mike Busking. I said, well, what about Mike Busking? He goes, well, Mike Busking dated my mom. And I go, well, how did he treat your mom? And he said, well, my mom's difficult. Then he sat there maybe another minute at the longest, and he got up and walked away. He never offered to look for Timmy. He's never posted anything about his friend being missing on his Facebook page or anything. And that's what bothers me the most about Caleb. It's like, wow, it's like he didn't even care. There was nothing.
Right. And so moving forward, you received the autopsy report. It's inconclusive. Like I said, the money's been raised for a second one. So you're waiting for things to come back from the second autopsy so that the investigation can move forward and you can find out where it's going to go from there. Levi said, love you, Barb. Keep your head up and we'll talk tomorrow. I'm still listening.
It's just living a nightmare. And it just doesn't go away. It don't. When you don't have answers, it doesn't go away. I mean, I love my son Michael, but I know what happened to him.
Right.
So I get up every day, and when I sleep at night, I have these images of what could have happened to Timmy, what happened to him, all this stuff that just goes through your head. You don't want to wake up sometimes because you don't want to have to relive it.
Right. And I don't think that anyone who has children, but that has never lost a child, could know that feeling. Mr. Tony is in chat. Him and his wife also lost a son. It's under different circumstances. So I think, like you said, with Michael, it's not like there's any questions. But with Timmy, a big part of the pain is not knowing.
Right. And if I knew, I'm not saying it'd get any easier because I have nobody. My kids were my life. It's not like I have other kids or anything. The first thing Timmy said when Michael died is he wished he would have had a kid or something that we would have. We don't have that.
Right.
And now I don't. And Timmy wanted kids. I mean, I have pictures of Timmy holding babies of his girlfriend that had nieces that had babies, and Timmy loved them. He said he was
Right.
going to have a little boy someday and name him after Michael. I mean, we had all these conversations and cried together over Michael. I mean, I know Timmy was depressed and hurting.
Right. But you also know that Timmy wouldn't have done anything to himself. So that's completely
Oh,
out
no,
of the question. That
no.
is not
Timmy
even
would.
anything that needs to be considered.
Oh, no. Timmy wouldn't have done anything to himself. No. Timmy
Right.
actually went to church with me the Saturday before. That's the one thing that I stand on a lot is we were in church and the pastor asked anybody if they wanted to ask Jesus to come into their heart. And Timmy did. And I looked over at Timmy and he's got his arms up and he's crying and he's asking Jesus to come into his heart. It was pretty awesome, to be honest.
Right.
So I know
And
where he
that's
is.
exactly. That's through all of this, that's the one thing that you can hold on to is to know that one day you're going to see him again. And you and I discussed one day about, that I think your comment was, it's sad to say, or something like that about that he's actually living better than we are.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
that's the thing that keeps me going. Is that I get up sometimes and it's so hard to live here on earth. I'm not going to say it is. There's so much sadness and people going missing and all this crime that you think, well, sometimes I think my kids got to miss that, which is an awesome thing. They don't have to be here to live on earth with all this bad stuff that happens anymore.
right.
I mean,
But
I
you're a
know both
fighter.
of my kids are in a better place. I know that, and I know I'll see them again someday.
Right. And you, Barb, you are a fighter. You are going to do everything you can until you find out some answers.
Right. I ain't going anywhere.
And that's right. And, you may not have all the answers that you want or need at this point. And that's one of the things that this case and other cases, there just needs to be answers. And hopefully, the second autopsy can be done, or at least a person. So the person that's going to do the second autopsy, he today got the first autopsy and the pictures that he needed to get. And he's going to be getting back in touch with Miss Barb. And then we're going to go together. We're going to work together. Our group is going to work to help her to try and get some answers and to be here for her, to listen to her. And there's other mothers also from Fredericktown that are going to be telling their story, and Barb stays in contact with them. They help one another they're helping one another through their grief.
Right. And all of us just really want to know what happened to our kids.
Mr. Tony is the one that I told you that he and his wife lost a child. He's asking how close were the boys in age?
5 years apart.
And Timmy was how old?
25 when he came up missing. He had a birthday, so he's 20. He'd have been 26.
They were just
Michael
babies.
and Michael was 29 and had his birthday right after he passed. So he's 30. He would have just turned 31 this month. the 14th of September, he would have been 31.
So, did Jimmy want to say anything, or just he want to wait till we do the private?
I'll just wait till you do the private.
Okay, Jimmy.
But yeah,
Jimmy is
thank you so much.
Jimmy. You're welcome. Jimmy is Miss Barb's boyfriend, and he is awesome. He is supporting her and loving her.
And he knew my boys.
Yeah, I was with the boys many times. Timmy came stayed a couple weekends with me. You know, we took them on float trips. Yeah, I love those boys dearly. Man never always showed it, but in my heart, they were always, to me, they were my own son. I wouldn't have done anything any different than my own child.
You know, the thing
Right.
about my boys is their hearts were sometimes they think their hearts were too big and they trusted everybody and everything. And I taught them that. And I feel guilty sometimes for telling them that you should look at the good in people and not, and I wished I wouldn't have done that because not everybody's good.
Right. But you know that your boys were good. You know that they were caring, they were loving, they were a reflection of you. And
They gave everything away. My son Michael, he gives stuff away. It's like, Michael, you don't even really have much and you're giving your stuff away. You know. And Timmy, same way. I mean, I got on one of the donations that one of his friends from Florida put on that donation. He gave some money and he said that he was in a bad emotional place one time, and Timmy sat down with him and helped him. It made me cry because I know that's who Timmy was.
Mm-hmm. And you've heard since all of this, when you were sitting at the courthouse and you had a memorial service already for Timmy. You've heard a lot of stories about Timmy and the good that he did.
Yeah. One of Timmy's really good friends is who went with me when I went to the funeral home. And he broke down in the parking lot and cried with me.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second.
All right.
Who's the one that works for the funeral?
Ace.
Oh, Ace.
He's gotten married since Timmy.
Baby on the way?
No.
Okay, everybody. This is a phone call that I really have to take for Miss Barbara, and I'll be right back. Miss Barbara, if you just want to keep talking about Timmy, you and Jimmy can talk about him, and then I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much you guys have watched of Timmy's videos and stuff on his Facebook that I shared of him just singing and he like dancing and just.
I took my cowboy boots on.
Yeah, and then Jimmy had bought a new pair of cowboy boots, and Timmy's never wore cowboy boots, so Jimmy told Timmy he could put on the cowboy boots, and Timmy put them cowboy boots on and danced around the house. He said, I think I'm going to have to get me a pair of them. I'm going to take these. But he was just
he was cutting the rug. It was priceless. I couldn't believe that was the first time he said he'd ever stuck his foot in a pair of cowboy boots. But
he just loved clowning around. Loved making people laugh, especially if they were down. He was always there to try to bring them up. And even when he was down himself, just amazed me how the people that's reached out to me that told me the things that Timmy has done for them, even give his money away because they didn't have any. Because Timmy had a very good job. I went with Timmy when he bought the shoes he had on, and he bought his new phone. It was a few days before Thanksgiving, and we went to the mall, and he bought a phone. He paid $1,200 for the phone, and with the case and everything. And I was like, Timmy, I don't know why you would pay that much money for a phone. I would never do that, but I said, it's your money. You work hard for it, so you can spend the money the way you want to. And he bought him a nice phone, and I helped him pick the case out. And then we went and he bought the Jordans that he had on, which he still has some Jordans here at my house that I have. I just can't bear to get rid of because he was about his shoes. And then he had to go buy, he bought some cologne. I actually have a t-shirt here that's got that cologne on it. Just don't really have many more words to say other than I think that Timmy was just, I don't even know, I don't want to say too nice, but he was a little, I don't want to say dumb, but he was kind of naive to things. I don't think he's seen anything bad in anybody. Wouldn't you say that? I mean, he just was
Very kind soul.
and he loved animals. He had a dog named Tank, and I did not want a male dog, so we got a little puppy, and he named it Tank and took his dog everywhere with him. And then he lost that dog, and he got him a little kitten. It's just hard. I don't know. I guess I believe